Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt like you were on the wrong planet, as if everyone else had somehow received an invisible manual, explaining exactly how to behave, what to say, and when to laugh, while you were left trying to decode a social language that never quite made intuitive sense to you? You smile, you nod, you play along with the rhythm of the conversation, yet internally there is a subtle but persistent sensation that something is misaligned, that you are participating without fully belonging. Present in body, but slightly distant in mind. Conversations begin to feel shallow, jokes start to sound recycled, trends appear strangely repetitive and predictable, and you find yourself wondering whether the discomfort you experience is a personal flaw or a reflection of the way your mind processes reality differently from the majority. The truth that few people articulate openly is that highly intelligent minds frequently experience the sensation of being out of place, not because they are defective or socially incapable, but because they perceive layers of reality that others either overlook or choose not to examine too closely. From the outside, intelligence is often portrayed as a straightforward advantage associated with academic success, quick problem-solving abilities, and impressive analytical skills. Yet from the inside it can feel isolating because a mind that moves rapidly often struggles to synchronize with environments designed for slower, more predictable patterns of thought. When your curiosity constantly pushes you toward depth, surface-level exchanges can feel exhausting. And when your instinct is to analyze underlying motivations and hidden structures, simply going with the flow becomes more difficult than it appears for others. You might find yourself sitting in a group conversation where laughter fills the room, yet instead of being fully immersed in the moment, you are already dissecting the subtext, noticing subtle tensions, interpreting microexpressions, and mentally mapping the dynamics unfolding beneath the surface. That subtle observational distance creates a gap, and over time that gap can begin to feel like loneliness. Not because you dislike people, but because you experience interactions on multiple levels simultaneously, while most people operate comfortably on only one. Intelligence is not merely about IQ scores or academic recognition. It is about pattern recognition, about seeing connections where others see randomness, about instinctively asking why in situations where most people are satisfied with that S just how it is. This constant questioning does not always integrate smoothly into systems built around conformity, repetition, and efficiency, such as educational environments that prioritize memorization and standardized responses over curiosity and independent analysis, while others may feel secure following instructions and repeating established frameworks. An intelligent mind often feels compelled to understand underlying principles, challenge assumptions, and explore alternative structures, which can create friction in spaces that reward compliance more than innovation. Over time, that friction can evolve into boredom, and prolonged boredom can gradually transform into disengagement, which then deepens the sense of isolation that initially began as a subtle difference in perspective. Have you ever felt the need to simplify your thoughts, hide your curiosity, or soften your intensity in order to avoid making others uncomfortable, sensing that your natural way of thinking was too much for the environment you were in? When you refrain from filtering yourself and instead speak with full clarity, you may notice subtle shifts in body language, defensive reactions, or awkward silences that communicate resistance without explicit words. Research consistently suggests that people often feel threatened by those who challenge established viewpoints, not necessarily because the challenge is aggressive, but because different perspectives disrupt psychological comfort and introduce uncertainty. If you question too deeply, analyze too thoroughly, or refuse to accept easy answers, you may be labeled as difficult, overly serious, or excessively analytical, even when your intention is simply to understand reality more accurately. Yet perhaps those labels are not criticisms, but indicators that your mind operates at a different frequency, one that does not easily harmonized with environments designed for uniformity. Most social environments reward similarity, shared humor, shared opinions, and shared cultural references, whereas intelligent minds often gravitate toward niche interests, abstract questions, and complex interdisciplinary connections. They do not simply want to discuss what happened. They want to explore why it happened, how it connects to broader systems, and what implications it holds for the future, which can feel overwhelming to those who prefer lighter exchanges. As a result, many intelligent individuals learn to observe more than they speak, to filter their thoughts before sharing them, and to adapt their expression to fit the expectations of the group, creating a paradox where they are socially present but internally distant. This paradox can produce a profound sense of loneliness, not because of physical isolation, but because of intellectual and emotional misalignment that persists despite being surrounded by people. Imagine placing a high-performance engine inside a vehicle designed only for short, predictable trips. It still functions, but it never reaches its full capacity. And over time, it may begin to feel constrained by the limitations of its environment. Similarly, when intelligent minds operate in spaces that do not challenge or stimulate them, they may appear disengaged or unmotivated, when in reality they are underutilized and Intelligent individuals often process emotions intensely because they detect subtle cues in tone, posture, and inconsistencies between words and actions, leading to a form of hyper-awareness that can be mentally exhausting. While others leave social gatherings feeling energized, the intelligent observer may leave feeling drained, not due to social aversion, but because of the constant decoding and analysis occurring beneath the surface of every interaction. This exhaustion is frequently misinterpreted as arrogance or coldness, yet it is more accurately described as cognitive overload caused by heightened awareness. When you naturally recognize patterns, you also recognize flaws in systems, relationships, leadership structures, and cultural norms. And once these patterns become visible, they are difficult to ignore. Speaking about these observations can disrupt harmony, yet remaining silent can create a sense of invisibility, placing intelligent individuals in a recurring dilemma between authenticity and acceptance. What if, instead of viewing this tension as a flaw, you considered it a signal that you are not meant to blend seamlessly into every environment, but rather to contribute something distinct? Throughout history, innovators and thinkers often felt misunderstood before their ideas gained recognition, not because they were inherently superior, but because they perceived possibilities earlier than those around them. Before society adapts to new ideas, it typically resists them, which means feeling out of place may indicate that your thinking is ahead of your current environment rather than fundamentally incompatible with reality. Consider the story of a young software developer who struggled socially in college because he preferred discussing systems and long-term technological implications rather than engaging in casual conversation, only to later build a company around the very ideas that once made him feel isolated. What changed was not his intelligence, but his context. Once he entered an environment that valued depth and innovation, the traits that previously caused friction became powerful assets. This pattern repeats frequently. Yet many intelligent individuals abandon their authenticity before discovering environments where their cognitive style is appreciated rather than suppressed. The first step toward breaking this cycle is understanding that feeling out of place does not mean you lack belonging. It means you have not yet found alignment. Alignment differs from popularity because it does not require universal approval, only meaningful resonance with those who appreciate depth and complexity. Boredom should not be mistaken for laziness. When your mind seeks complexity, repetitive or simplistic tasks can feel draining rather than motivating. Seeking intellectual stimulation through challenging books, thought-provoking podcasts, and communities that value rigorous discussion can gradually restore a sense of engagement and vitality. However, intelligence can also foster ego if not balanced with humility, as noticing patterns others miss may create a subtle sense of superiority that isolates for entirely different reasons. True growth involves expanding empathy alongside intellect, recognizing that diverse cognitive styles exist and that belonging is built through mutual respect rather than intellectual dominance. What if your perceived misfit status is actually your competitive advantage in a world that increasingly rewards original thinking and adaptability? While others follow trends, you analyze systems. While others react impulsively, you evaluate patterns. While others seek validation, you seek understanding. And over time, these differences compound. Instead of asking why you do not fit in everywhere, consider where your mind thrives most naturally and have the courage to pursue those environments even if it requires change. In relationships, intelligent minds often crave depth, extended conversations, layered insights, and emotional honesty, which may not align with a culture optimized for speed and instant gratification. The solution is not lowering your standards, but refining your filters, investing energy where curiosity and depth are reciprocated rather than resisted. The modern world offers unprecedented opportunities to find like-minded individuals through digital communities, specialized forums, and global networks, reducing the likelihood that intellectual isolation is permanent. You are not necessarily rare. You may simply be specific. And specificity requires intentionality in choosing where to focus your attention and energy. Ultimately, intelligence is not solely about thinking differently. It is about choosing growth over comfort, meaning over popularity, and authenticity over approval. That path may feel lonely initially, but over time, authenticity attracts alignment, and alignment fosters a deeper, more sustainable sense of belonging. If you have felt out of place for most of your life, perhaps that sensation is not a flaw, but a signal urging you to stop shrinking and start building a life where your mind is not merely tolerated but genuinely valued. The world does not benefit from more people blending into existing systems without question. It benefits from individuals willing to think critically, challenge assumptions, and design alternatives. If these words resonate with you, consider that recognition not as coincidence, but as confirmation that your experience is shared by others who think deeply and seek meaning. Instead of asking for permission to express your intellect fully, begin intentionally seeking spaces that demand and appreciate it. Because once you enter the right environment, the feeling of being out of place transforms into a sense of power and purpose that changes everything.